Welcome to 13 minutes of gig news in 13 minutes or less. Okay, never gone over once. You guys, okay, we're gonna jump right in. DoorDash mass deactivations. We talked about it last week on the Para Presents. We did the conclusion this week on Para Presents. I'll be dropping the entire audio clip as a whole piece tomorrow. So you guys can check that out. Both pieces will be together. So hearing them back to back, I think that brings a lot of we touched on a lot of stuff that you guys who do DoorDash or do a lot of DoorDash, even if you multi-app, should really listen to. So watch for that piece to drop tomorrow. Also, these mass deactivations. Is there any rhyme and reason is kind of the thing we were going for here, or is it literally just being AI deactivated? And did they never used to run background checks in the beginning and now they are? And the backing up of Checker and if you've moved, I'm hearing the same type of information from all kinds of people. If you've moved, Checker isn't listing your new residence, it's not finding it, but somehow your Checker reports for other apps come back just fine. But DoorDash playing catch up from whatever they onboarded you, if you've moved, things like that, most likely somehow in the Checker background check or the communication between DoorDash and Checker, there is an error going on, and it is causing deactivations based on the Checker portion. I know DoorDash has its own issues about just wanting to have mass deactivations that we probably will never know for sure, but we can guess on a lot of them and probably make some very smart guesses on why they're happening. Um, I have theories about them not wanting full-time employees because or full-time workers because of the employment battle that are going on in this country. When it really comes down to it, if everybody fell beneath 15 hours a week, I don't think they'd have these issues anymore. However, that would affect all of us who pull a lot of the weight for these platforms and do this full-time multi-app. So we're being pulled here. Speaking of which, I quickly just want to touch on Massachusetts. We haven't talked about it in a while. Lyft almost got hit with sanctions yesterday on a worker misclassification lawsuit. Now they're going for the bigger thing there. They're really going for the whole piece when the rule change now goes into effect on October 1st. We've talked about this. October 1st is the rule change. Um, when it goes into effect, most likely Massachusetts will have an instant change um, that will it's going to be the closest to a union look that any of the other states that are going for changes are going to see that I can tell. I mean, everybody seems to want it. Even the people pushing different agendas, they all seem to fall back to unions. So my guess is if we're going to see a union, it's going to be there. And we'll definitely see it by October 1st. There's no way because I think that everything's just kind of playing out to be a perfect storm, leading me to this next story. So the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, has changed the ABC test into a 6-prong test, which was difficult. Julie Sue wants that tweaked out into an 8-prong test. We talked about this Thursday on the roundtable. We went through the 8 prongs that Julie Sue wants, and it's crazy, you guys. Number 8 makes it impossible to be an independent contractor and work these platforms. She doesn't no, we talked about on Driver Nation last night. We talked about we showed a clip of what's going on in congressional hearings, and Julie Sue says she doesn't remember. She was in California playing a major role. Now she's supposed to be the labor person for the entire country, the Secretary of Labor for Joe Biden, our president. She's supposed to fill that position, and everybody's kind of both sides of the aisle are up in arms about this one. I mean, they've been put, she should have already, if this was something that everybody wanted, she would already be in office. She should already be there. She is the temporary AG, or she's the temporary Secretary of Labor, but that only lasts. I mean, they need to get this done and they need to get it solidified before the rule change in October, or else they need to have a new candidate. Um, it's very important that you guys educate yourself. Go to ridesharerodeo.com and just look at any articles this week or any posts from this week. It's only one post a day. Just go there and look at any post. You should find an NLRB or a Julie Sue article in there. But read up on it a little bit, you guys. You should be aware of what's going on with this stuff. And all this news all comes from ridesharerodeo.com. I need to always remember to plug that with you guys. So, go there and read some of this stuff for yourself. If you ever question some of the things we talk about on Roundtable, or, if you're a fan of Driver Nation, which, by the way, thank you everybody for a amazing run of Driver Nation. It was a bittersweet ending last night. However, Tom will still be around, and I'm still sure we'll still do some projects here and there, and we'll see him in some of the roundtables, maybe some other projects and stuff. And who knows? Maybe we'll even do a different project down the road. But right now, it was a bittersweet ending last night. But go check it out, and thank you all for being such great participants, really, because Driver Nation was all about participation. It was like the show we got to all chat on. So, um, but moving back to this, speaking of Driver Nation too, by the way, we talked about this last night on the final episode, but Tom brought up a really valid point. There were 2 articles out this week. Instacart driver charged with leaving child in hot vehicle while shopping, and DoorDash driver leaves toddler in closet. One of the DoorDash one was from Georgia, and the Instacart was from Florida. I don't know why it's always picking on these states, but um, regardless, Tom brought up a good point. Okay, so the Instacart one is the shopper was leaving his kid in the car locked up while doing shops. We always hear the stories about don't leave kids in the car, obviously, but don't leave your pets in the car, all this. But the person was constantly leaving their kid in the car and doing these. But then the DoorDash one is the DoorDasher was leaving her toddler in her closet at her house and going out and doing dashes. Um, both of these, obviously, all of us are against. I doubt anybody watching this is thinking that's a great idea. So, whether you have kids or not, you probably realize this to be the horrible idea. It is. But what Tom pointed out was a good point. Why on earth does it matter what they do? Why does it matter that it's an Instacart shopper that left their kid in the car? Why does it matter that it's a DoorDasher that left their toddler in the closet? Tom's point was, these articles would have even as much of a at least as much of a punch, if not hit to home harder, if it left out those portions about Instacart or DoorDash. There's really no rhyme or reason for it. The only reason that you could state is that maybe it was needed to amplify the article itself, but that would be BS too, because like let's use the DoorDash one. The Instacart one was, it was a story, but the DoorDash one was very weird because it said Dasher leaves toddler in closet, and it went through all this 3 times in the article mentions them being a DoorDasher, but it said that the police had to come in using a ladder. Okay, it didn't explain that. Did that mean they went in through the window? Was it an apartment building? Why didn't they go in through the door? It didn't explain. It said that the toddler was left in a closet and that there were trash and they were bundled up. But was the toddler screaming and crying? What did a neighbor call? All the information about the story itself was missing from the story. All it was really hitting on was that the person was a DoorDasher and left their kid in there, but it left out all the details that clearly the person writing the article had. I mean, you would know if you're writing this article and you did any research, and you were talking with an officer or something, they would give you all the details. But yeah, the neighbor called because the baby was, all those were missing. So it was very weird. It was a good catch on Tom's part because it reminded me to, I'm always an advocate for the gig workers and I'm always on the side of right. Um, and why are these in these titles? Because it seems like it's kind of leading up to, this National Relations Board rule change, and the things that we're going to see here regarding independent contractorship in the United States. So you can go back and watch Driver Nation from last night, the finale, and catch that full conversation. The other thing that we talked about yesterday a little bit and on Thursday, I believe, that I want to make sure you guys all are clear about is that Uber is about to stick video ads in cars, apps, and anywhere else it can. So here's an odd thing. If you go back on my channel and you look at the Fure cab, it's free cab, but it's spelled FURE.CAB, free cab. If you go back and watch the first interview, now I've done 2 on my channel, but if you go back and watch the first interview I did with the CEO and founder, him and I had a great discussion, and I actually befriended him during this time, so I know him fairly well. His ideas, they're a little out there to a lot of us, but here's the thing. About 3 weeks ago on this channel, I had a pop on that video and it was very odd because I just normally something like this doesn't happen, but I had about 5,800 views in a 48-hour window on the first interview I did with the CEO and founder. Now, 2 weeks later, um, Uber has adapted all of his model and are sticking it in, and this is what these articles are about. Any of the articles you find that says that Uber ads are about to be in cars or in the app or on the delivery customer side or whatever about advertising in the app or in the cars, kind of follows the model of Rudy's business. And I would challenge you guys to go watch that episode, and now we can talk about maybe why that surged out of nowhere too, because I don't wanna say that, it was him in that interview, but clearly Uber's researching free cab and what they were doing, and they hadn't even launched it. I know it'd been pushed a couple times, and of course, there's a bunch of barriers to entry into this space, but nonetheless, he is still pushing for this. So now I'm very interested to get in contact with Rudy again and see what's going on. And then the last thing I wanna hit you guys with, let's end on a good story here. So a DoorDash driver in Maryland, uh was playing, $1 million scratch off tickets, or it was, like a 12 million. I can't remember what it was called. It's in Baltimore, or outside of Baltimore, but, the DoorDash driver won $1 million. $1 million. That's awesome, right? So kudos to them. And then real quick, you guys, I just put it in today's story, Saturday, June 17th. Senators question Uber and Lyft on human trafficking risks. I'll leave that one up to you guys. You want to go check that out. Also at ridesharerodeo.com, you can find that article in today, and you can find all the NLRB and Julie Sue's stuff, as well as a bunch of stuff on the DoorDash deactivations. So you guys, that's 13 minutes of news in just under 13 minutes, and we'll see you back here next week. Peace.